What's good, everybody? It's your boy JSX4 here, and today we are finally back at the Kokatsu story. Honestly, it's been 2 weeks. What the hell have I been doing? Honestly, just been in anxiety because of the whole school thing, which at the recording of this video, not at school, but by the time this video dropped, I will be. I know y'all been a little bit waiting for Kokatsu story. Some of the viewership of that story is starting to go back up a little bit, so that's pleasant, and I'm looking forward to seeing that viewership go up way the hell up, even more than what we currently have. But anyway, let's actually get into the story, which let's recap first. Obviously, in the last episode, Kodiko was in the hospital because, you know, she got stomped out by Kodiko, which is some nonsense. So we're on the hunt to find Yukari now, and Alice is also there, and Mikan is also there as well. And then we also get this other scene where Blue, Shoko, and Raven are about to start preparing to fight Madaka. And then as well, we also found Yukari at the same episode, made a deal with her, and potentially now she's on our side. And now she pretty much is on our side. However, she warns us of a threat that is pretty much coming and not necessarily going to be nice for us. And so that's when Tanya basically jumped my ass and took advantage of the situation. But somehow, in some way, the despair within myself went back in me anyway, and then essentially created this new form of myself, which I never really seen before. An uncontrollable being of despair, Neo Despair J, which is, you know, not necessarily the nicest thing you want to be around. And at the end of it, I obviously couldn't retain that form, so I ended up snapping out of it. So this is after all of that has happened. We are just sitting there with Tanya, just kind of laying the hell out because I pretty much just picked her up and took her with us, and you know, to this room. And so I'm basically just telling Yukari what happened, and I was just like, it was like snapping all at once. And then Yukari just kind of chimes in, and she's just like, "Then the despair left you? That's very unusual." I'm just like, is Tanya gonna kill me when she wakes up, or honestly, was it really that smart to bring her here? Because I'm now just kind of thinking about this. And then Yukari just basically like, the spirit is random and unique. Really, anything could have happened. Because if you remember the last episode, we basically put the despair inside of Tanya as well. So she got a little bit of taste of it to see her worst nightmares and kind of just put her in this weird way. So obviously with the spirit, it is random. We don't know what's necessarily going to be, you know, the case and the answer to it. So it's just a wait and see approach when it comes to things. So anyway, I'm just like, well, let's hope she changed for the better. Also, there's something I want to ask you. When you said you understood what Kodiko went through, were you... I hate to ask this, but were you used like her? And so Yukari says, no, not exactly. My mother was. I was forced to watch. And I'm just like, oh, that's... I'm so sorry. And so Yukari just like, I didn't even tell Shoko, so don't say anything to her. And then at that point, I'm just like, wait, if you have another mom, then were you adopted into Shoko's family? And so Yukari just like, instead of asking questions, you should prepare for what Kodiko is going to do to you today. I'll wait outside till you're done. And so basically Yukari just leaves in somewhat of an annoyed mood, but as she does leave, Tanya starts waking up. And so Tanya's just like, ugh. And I'm just like, you okay over there, Tanya? And then Tanya just being quiet, which is very unusual of her, as you kind of know what Tanya really is like. This is not how she's supposed to be, especially in enemy hands. And then I'm just like to myself, oh gosh dang it, yeah, this woman's gonna kill me, isn't she? And so basically I'm just like, sorry about the whole despair thing that kind of happened. And so Tanya just like, I saw everything. What you are and where you came from. What my life has been and where it's going. I'm sorry for hurting you. That's why from this day forward, I'll take any order you give me to make your life easier, to keep the despair away. And I'm just like, huh? Wait, what? Because, yeah, this is very unusual and very strange. Tanya is a person that is absolutely evil in every sort of sense of the word, hence her anime name. Granted, she does not like a lot of people, much less like a lot of people being emotional with things as well. If you kind of notice, she doesn't really think about emotions and stuff in her series. She more thinks logically about how things should go. Yet, granted, funny enough, I feel like Tanya is actually the most emotional person in the entire show, considering that it's always about what she wants in the betterment of what, you know, is going on in her current situation. Tanya is just getting naked and on her knees at this point, basically just like, I guess, bowing to Jay at this point. And essentially, Tanya's just like, let me prove my loyalty to you. You are my superior. And I'm just like, Tanya? And so she sits by him, and I'm just like, are you sure you're okay with this? Just making sure I don't die or anything. And so Tanya just like, it's the least I can do. I've done tons of disgusting things to people, so I have you do something disgusting to me. And so basically, Tanya was just serving Jay as much as possible. You know where we're going with that. And so Tanya to herself was just kind of thinking, just like, what was I thinking before? Why did it take me so long to figure this out? This is what I really needed. And so at this point, I'm just like, Tanya? And so I'm basically blasting off inside of Tanya at that point. She's just really enjoying it now, really upping her feelings. Very, very different from the real Tanya that we already know. So at this point, Tanya's just like, I'll serve you. I'll serve you. And so basically after the whole smashing session is completed and Tanya's pretty much well rested after that, I just pretty much dipped off and get ready to go find Kodiko. So after that, we get to Act 2 of the story, which starts off with Junko of all people, basically kind of telling Kodiko a bit of information on what she thinks about this entire situation of how the safe haven split up from lollies and shotas and split up from the more mature, older, and adult people. And so she's basically like, Kodiko, I am very proud of how you are using all those resources. However, you best not disappoint me. There will be consequences. And so, essentially, after Kodiko remembers what Junko said, we get into actually what Kodiko wants to do today. So, essentially, she's like, well, you arrived. And I'm just like, you're effing awful. You didn't need to be an ass to her. And I'm just looking down at what Kodiko is actually doing. And Kodiko's just like, oh, you mean mono cunt? She'll be fine. I'll be your new sister. Anyway, today's your motivation day. So take off all your clothes. Not even underwear. Unless you want a beautiful explosion. And so I'm just looking at this freaking wrist in my hand. I'm just looking at this wristband I got on. I'm just like, fine. And so it just takes off everything I got. Yep, you had a naked Shota boy. How do you feel? I know one person's gonna feel absolutely brilliant to this and probably gonna be fapping to this. I'm not down for that, but you know, it's your life, do what you want. Anyway, Kodiko just like, you look just like those demons do. Although, even for a demon, at least your sword is cute. Now, you're gonna be my pet today. Get on all fours and we're gonna show you off to the entire school. And I'm just like, you... And then, with no choice, because obviously if I don't, I die, I basically did what she told me to do. And so Kodiko now is just like, you're so adorable! This is so adorbs! Let's get moving! And so throughout the entirety of what this motivation process was, I essentially had to walk on all fours like a dog throughout the entire school, going through literally every single person that was at the school and just showing off, unfortunately, in my, you know, despair of it all. So essentially, Kodiko just went all around the school in front of everyone and just humiliated Jay. Chocho just stared. Even Rushia got a fondling session. Rushia? Really? Anyway, Kodiko was just going to different classrooms just to show off this fine, phenomenal Shota 10-inch penis. But at the dismay of Jay at the same time though. So at this point, Kodiko just like, yes! Just like that! This is wonderful! Don't you see how beautiful this is, class? Just making me look like a cat, look at my own hands and stuff. It's freaking awful. And so while in this class, everybody was curious while they was looking at this, but Tatsumaki didn't care for any of this and thought it was just a waste of her time. So at the end of all of it, finally, Kodiko was just like, "You're a true whore like I was now. This is officially my favorite day ever. I could die happy right now." Well, of course, I wouldn't really do that. For your final act, go to the door. A prize is on the other side. And so I go through the door, finally being able to, not walk on all fours for once. My knees hurt. Anyway, I'm walking through the door, and lo and behold, it is the Dot Queen herself, the absolute demonic presence of despair, Junko Enoshima, on the other side. And so Junko is just like, "Hiya, son, how's the breeze between your balls?" And I'm just like, silently staring, looking into the eyes of this lady and being mad as all hell. So essentially, Junko's just like, "Nothing to say." That's a first. "Well, I see you're enjoying your time in despair, considering you stole 2 of my pawns already." And I'm just like, wait a minute, you know? And so Junko's just like, "Of course I know, silly. Despair is everything. It's been that way since the beginning of time." The Watchers knew too. And I'm just like, the Watchers? And so she's like, "Shall I explain?" Honestly, when the multiverse was first made, despair was lingering on its own, weakening all over the new world. It took 4 people, the Watchers, to contain the despair, to keep the multiverse intact. But it didn't stay that way for long. One of the Watchers were tricked by despair and took its power and killed the rest of the Watchers. Apparently, they spread despair across the multiverse until it was everywhere and faded from existence. A sad end to a noble hero. And I'm just like, dumb story. And so Junko's like, maybe, but it is true. And why should I believe anything you say at this point? Where did you even hear this from? Plus, I created the safe haven. And so Junko's just like, but it's still here. And I'm just like, because I made a mistake bringing you here. That's the whole reason why everything's in this mess, is because my damn fault. And so Junko's just like, yes, but wrong. I was just a host. And I'm just like, a host? And so Junko's just like, so, now you're curious? Okay then. I'll demonstrate what despair feels like to the host of it. And so she kicks Jay down onto the wall and he fell down to the ground. And essentially, she's like, you're still hard? Good. And so she just gets naked herself and just starts getting on top, riding this man. And we already know what happened last time when Jay got basically put in this situation, even though he put himself in that situation. Banging Junko is literally the worst thing that you can possibly do, considering the fact it's literally despair being poured into you, and it's literally, effing you up at the same time as you're getting some good coup. So yeah, it might be good to get some, but at the same time, you're probably not going to make it, or you're probably going to be knocked out of it for a good minute. And this is basically the same thing that's what's happening, except I don't think Junko's going to let Jay go this time. So anyway, Junko's like, rejoice, Jay. I shall give you my despair and connect with yours. Despair is in us, so it's only right to share our pain. And so she starts to ride him while losing her mind. It felt so good to Jay at first, but then it kept going, and even after he just busted multiple times. And so Junko at this point, she's like, come for me, come to your mother in despair. Do my body excite you? You want to fall in despair with me? And then at this point, Jay is just kind of losing his brain because he's just screaming in pain of all of this, because the despair is flowing inside into him, just like it was with Tanya. And so Junko just like, yes, keep screaming one more time, come one more time, fill me with it until we both break, F me. And so basically Jay came again inside of her, And then after that, Jay was just fully broken at that moment. He couldn't necessarily operate and act in the way he usually does. And so she just loving this. Junko just absolutely screaming her ass off. So the screaming kept going for a good chunk of time. Like, they were doing this in the evening time until it fully went dark. And so at this point, Jay just pretty much out of it. But Junko just absolutely loving every hour of it, non-stop. And so at this point, Junko is just panting, and she's just like, finally, you finally satisfied me. You are fantastic. Hey, you hear me? I said you were actually pretty good. And so, you know, she trying to, I guess, compliment the good sex, but obviously Jay was pretty much out of it, not even hearing anything, because he's so far gone. And so Junko was just like, figures. And so she starts hugging on him. And so she says, I'll tell you the truth. I do love you. I really do. I don't mind bearing your kids one day. I just want you in the spare first. You are perfect to me in every way. Far better than anyone. My sister could die just for me to be around you. So relax now, my king. Junko will always love you. Now, I'll take you to the infirmary. I got what I came for. And yeah, this is just, this just getting weirder and weirder. Anyway, we finally get to the last act of things. And at this point, Kodiko is finally awake. She's finally good. She's healthy. She's looking really nice. Still my sexy queen. But now after the smashing session, Junko did take, you know, Jay to the infirmary as she said she would. Kind of just leaving out there and just, you know, kind of dipping off before anybody could question her or even find out. So at this point, Kodiko is just like, Jay, now I'm the one taking care of you. Why is this happening? And so Yukari kind of pops up out of nowhere, and she's just like, I think we both already know why. And so Kodiko's just like, wait, you were with Kodiko? Did she send you here to take us down? And Kodiko just continues on. She's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna beat you till you leave. And so Yukari's just like, unnecessary. I'm on his side now. See this mark on my chest? It's a spell contract. Binding deals I'm not allowed to break. Your husband? Boyfriend? Whatever. He basically made a contract with me. And so Kodiko's just like, a contract? And Yukari's just like, still don't believe me. I can't believe I'm going to do this, but it seems you need proof. And so Yukari basically takes off her skirt and turns around, bends over to show the contract that Jay left on her ass. And so Yukari just like, that's his contract. He slapped my butt. Now I'm his. Do you believe me now? Also, hurry! This is so embarrassing. And so Kodiko just looking at the contract of the ass slap that Jay pretty much left the hand mark on Yukari's cheek. And so Kodiko is just looking annoyed. And she's like, knowing Jay? Yes, I believe you. Alright, so what gives? What's been happening while I was down? And so Yukari basically quickly tell her the rundown of everything. And so Kodiko is just like, so, Junko did this to him again. This is the second time. And so Kodiko's just like, I hate seeing him like this, because I know there's nothing I can do. And so Yukari just like, I'm gonna need you to not remember what you saw with that contract, okay? And so Kodiko's just like, you're still on about that? By the way, where is your despair princess anyway? And so Yukari's just like, Kodiko is actually with Junko. She won't be around today. And so Yukari's just like, actually, if you really want to try to strike back at her, I recommend we find someone else that is strong so we can stop Kodiko. We have Tanya. One more should do. And so Kodiko just like, strong? I have one in mind. I don't know if she'll help, but I need to try. Making him going around the school like that, being humiliated, knowing he didn't want to do this, all for my sake. No one makes a fool out of my man. And that is where we will end the chapter of this story today. So yes, a lot has happened. Finally, Konako is awake, and she's about to get some type of revenge with the help and aid of, you know, this mystery person that she wants to go after and try to get. Also, we've seen Jay basically go through the worst moment of his life, going around to school, literally getting, you know, humiliated, walking around naked, actually crawling around naked, and essentially not going through anything and going through everything and just being a bad time. We also learned about this mystery group, about the Watchers, that apparently were like these guardians of despair, and somehow someone was tricked in the Watchers by despair and killed the rest of the guardians to bring despair to every single place in the multiverse. But is that story even true? And again, where did Junko hear that from, if that is true? And there's just a lot of stuff honestly going on. And also, we didn't even see what happened to Blue and the others. They're currently fighting Madaka. What is going on that side? Unfortunately, we won't get to know this episode, but hopefully in the next one we'll get to understand some things, and hopefully we get to see how Blue is doing and how they're faring. But that's pretty much the end of this episode, so hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also follow me on the Twitters, and donate to the channel if you are wanting to be a Patreon member as well. And until then, this is your boy Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.